Hello, welcome or welcome back to Sapling Tarot. Today I'm going to be doing my interpretation of the wonderful Coffee House Decks tag by Amidst the Grey. I love that video and I loved watching all of the VRs to it. It's been on my list for ages to either write a blog post or to film a video for it. The only snag being, unfortunately, I'm not much of a coffee drinker. I love coffee. Coffee just doesn't love me. My body and caffeine don't have the best relationship. So instead of doing the coffee house tag, I thought I would do instead the tea house tag. I am a big lover of tea. The first prompt is builder's tea. It's the crowd favourite. When someone asks you for a cup of tea, this is what you think of. And while my pick might not be the most classic of decks, it is certainly a crowd favourite. My pick for builder's tea is the Queer Tarot. I don't know anyone who doesn't like this deck. Anyone I've ever seen use this deck or work with this deck, even just see this deck in an Instagram post, has loved it. The vibrant colours, the 90s vibes, the queerness. So many people resonate so strongly with this. I also consider it builder's tea because it sticks fairly firmly to a very typical RWS system. So it's really easy for beginners and for people to recognise the imagery that they're so used to. So my pick for builder's tea, crowd favourite, the one that everyone loves, is the Queer Tarot. The next prompt is black tea, punchy, strong, to the point. And for this prompt, I've chosen Big Gay Tarot Deck by Poppy the Witch. I think this is my punchiest deck. It's the most minimal deck I own. And if I'm honest, that is a reason that I don't use it all that often. It doesn't mess around. It doesn't really give you loads of story to work with. But it does give quick, to the point, clear readings. There's some cute versions of things, there are some really pointed versions of things. And yeah, I think that the Big Gay Tarot deck is my pick for a strong cup of black tea. The next prompt is chai latte, warm, cosy, nurturing. And for this prompt, I've chosen the Wandering Star Tarot by Kat Pierce. I really love this deck. I used it a lot after I first got it, and it lived on my bedside table for a while. The illustration style reminds me of a childhood friend of mine who has the most distinct style of drawing people of anyone I've ever met. I don't think she'd consider herself an artist, but these people in these cards really, really remind me of her. I think some people might be annoyed having the words written within the illustrations, but I think if you're a bit stressed or your brain is a bit foggy, you're having just a bit of a difficult time, and what you need is that warm, nurturing, cozy deck. I think this is absolutely ideal. It will nudge you gently in the right direction. It's not really scary, it's not really forceful. Gentle is definitely the word that springs to mind when I think of this deck. So, for the chai latte, I choose the Wandering Star Tarot deck. The next prompt is green tea. Perhaps a little bit bitter, perhaps a little bit harsh, but you know it's good for you. For this prompt, I've chosen the White Newman, a Sacred Animal Tarot. Oh, I love the smell of it. I find some of the cards can be quite encouraging and gentle, But more often than not, if you do a reading with this, it's going to tell you what you need to know and not beat around the bush. I also thought of the green tea because of the Pentacles suit and the specific shades of green that were chosen. I think there's something so beautiful and so elegant about this deck, and it just doesn't pull any punches in my experience. It can be gentle the same way that if you have a very lightly infused green tea, but if you leave that tea to steep for a little bit long, yeah, it can be a little bit brutal, but you know it's doing you some good. So my pick for green tea is the White Newman Tarot. Of course, the irony of this tag is that, of course, my tea is absolutely going to go cold. The next prompt is the matcha latte, and for this I've chosen the Citadel of Fantasy Oracle. Now, I love this deck. I was absolutely obsessed with the idea of it as soon as I saw it. I'm a bit of a fan person for Fez Ink, right? I love their work. Their illustrations are exquisite, and I really like the way they choose the things they work with. However, I can see that maybe it wouldn't be for everyone. The cards are a funny shape, it's a little bit of a niche theme, maybe. It's inspired by tabletop role-playing games, but for me this is a real storyteller's deck. All of the archetypes and the characters in these cards just absolutely spring off the paper. The guidebook is so sumptuously written, you can fall into the Citadel so easily, even by just pulling a single card. I love using this deck for weekly card pulls, whether it be the kind of person that I need to embody, the kind of energy I need to avoid. I just love it so much, and you know, it is also sticky. It is also just, I mean, the illustrations and the copper gilding is just gorgeous. But I can see that maybe it's not for everyone. Not everyone would connect with this. But like a matcha latte, of which I am also a fan, this is an acquired taste, and a taste that I have fully acquired. The next prompt is jasmine green tea. Now that might sound a little bit strange, but it is often the base that's used for fruity boba tea. So I think of this as sweet, fun, a little bit weird. And so this is the deck that sprung to mind, the Gentle Thrills Tarot. This is an odd deck, I will give you that. The cards are a little bit too big for my hands. The imagery is a little bit out there for my personal tastes. I find it a little bit hard to read with, and yet I would really struggle to get rid of these cards. I think the drawing style is just fabulous. I think the pippish, weird suits, so they're all, these are the, you can tell the majors because they've got this print on them, and then the wands have this one, and then the cups have, so you can tell them by the edges. And I can't really tell the difference otherwise. They aren't particularly classic in the depictions of things. I love the weird people, but if you think of a kind of a fruity, floral, sweet and a bit weird tea, I think this deck absolutely fills the brief. So for the jasmine green tea prompt. I choose the Gentle Thrills Tarot. The next prompt is white tea. It's another kind of unusual tea to come across, but it is one that I love for its lower caffeine content and its floral, gentle, delicate flavour. So I think this is a deck that is soft, delicate and gentle, and so for that prompt I've chosen the Hedge Witch Botanical Oracle. This was the first oracle deck I ever owned. I didn't really know what an oracle deck would be like. I didn't really think that it would be something that would be for me until I was in good old Glastonbury one day with my friends and I saw these gorgeous cards with all of the botanical imagery and I thought, oh, I get it now. I get why people use oracle decks. And for a long time this is what I used for my weekly card pulls. Tiny little baby easel up on my bookshelf and I would pull a card. There's one that is calendula that got me through a lot of the worst bits of the winter last year, thinking about that kind of brightness that would come again and the healing nature of flowers and plants, and it really brought me so much. Oh, there we go, right at the back, of course. Brighten, as the brighter days will come with the calendula marigold. I just think they're really sweet. They're very gentle, very delicate. I think they work if you're interested in botanical drawings and herbalism and whatnot. Comes with a really chunky guidebook. Yeah, so for white tea, I've chosen the Hedge Witch Botanical Oracle. The next prompt is oolong tea. Another slightly off the beaten track kind of tea. And I've defined this as a bit of a not like other girls tea. It's a mixture of black and green, I think. I'm no tea scholar. And it imparts some wild and wacky flavours into tea blends. Again, a favourite. But I can appreciate she's not like other girls. And so for that deck, I picked the Tarot of Light and Shadow by John Matthews and Andrea Aste. And by deck, I do in fact mean two decks, because you have the Tarot of Light and you have the Tarot of Shadow. So I imagine you could read with this deck all jumbled together. That would be a nightmare to shuffle, but I would respect it. Or you can use them one at a time. I really love using one deck to do a reading, and then I keep this one in order. So I use this deck to shuffle and get the cards out, and then I'll go into this deck and I will find effectively the mirror card. You can read the Tarot of Shadow like reversals if you want, but that's not generally how they advise it in the guidebook. I know that a lot of thought went into this deck, this deck collectively, but I do find her a little bit intimidating. She's a little bit cool for me. I try every once in a while, but it's very much a kind of intellectual experience for me reading with these cards. I don't find it as easy to just kind of feel my way through. I want to get all of the detail and pull out every scrap of, oh there we go, Cosmic Mirror, so that sends you back to the other deck. I just know that there's so much that's been put into these cards, and so I fully read these with the guidebook, with the other deck, poring over them. I need to get a magnifying glass out to get some of these details. My oolong tea deck I suppose they look a bit tea stained, don't they? My oolong tea deck, my Not Like Other Girls deck, is the Tarot of Light and Shadow. My next deck is the mint tea, the peppermint tea, the palate cleanser, the tummy soother, the one that you use when you just need to reset. And so for that I've chosen the Wildwood Tarot. This is a deck that I experience a very much kind of time and place for in my practice. And I think many classic decks would fit in here. I think when I just need to kind of not quite go back to basics, because I suppose I would choose an RWS clone for that. But when I need to really recenter myself and remind myself of all the different things that are at play within the tarot, my own ancestry, my own connection with the land, the bits of the tarot that are the most true to me and my practice, I find myself coming back to this deck. I find it a bit of a difficult deck to use, if I'm honest. I know that I barely scratched the surface of the symbolism and the choices that have been made in the way that this deck works in terms of a year in the wildwood or all sorts of those things. I know you can dive really deep. Ooh, I'm not a fan of eels. I know you can dive really deep with this deck, but I find it just really useful for grounding myself and kind of going back to just getting back to center. Yeah, so for the palate cleanser mint tea, I choose the Wildwood Tarot. The final prompt is chamomile tea, sleepy time tea, anything that helps you relax, that helps you meditate, that helps you shut out the noise, I suppose, but in a really peaceful kind of way. So for that prompt, I have the Spacious Tarot, one of my all-time favourites. This is the Spacious Tarot with the expansion pack mixed in. I love this deck. I find the spaciousness of the cards gives me so much room to breathe, to really focus. I wouldn't so much use this for a really complex spread with loads of cards, because I think I would find that a bit overwhelming, because these cards all seem so poignant to me. That was the word I was looking for in my last video. It's kind of going like peaceful, poignant. I think there's a lot of emotional weight in these cards, but I find that really centering. If I have something in particular that I want to meditate on, I can pull out a specific card, but often I'll just give the deck a bit of a shuffle and see what comes out. Good for journaling prompts, good for just sitting and thinking and being in your body and just feeling out the spaces that are shown in these wonderful cards. So my choice for sleepy time chamomile tea is the Spacious Tarot. So that's it. I've finished my tea and I've finished the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Without Amidst the Greys Coffee House decks, this video wouldn't have been possible. I highly recommend that if you haven't seen that video, that you go and check it out. I will have it linked, however you do that on YouTube, along with all of my versions of the prompts below if you would like to have a go at the Tea House decks tag. If you have done the Coffee House Decks tag, I tag you to have a rethink, to think about the lower energy, lower buzz versions of the decks you chose for that. As we go into as I go into the darker half of the year, I'm certainly always thinking about the lower energy ways of managing things. So if you're watching this and you want to have a go and you make YouTube videos, then please, I tag you. And if you don't make YouTube videos, please write them in, your answers in a comment if you would like to. You don't have to do all of the prompts, just the ones that speak to you. If you're a blogger, I tag you to do a blog post about it. And if you don't want to do anything with this tag, with these questions, then that's absolutely fine. I really hope you're looking after yourself. You deserve it. And hopefully I'll catch you again next time. Bye.